This week's Torah portion is called Shalach, which means to send out. And it's referring to the story of Moses sending out the spies to scout out the land of Israel in order to determine the best way to conquer the land, in fulfillment of God's promise that the land will be given to the Jewish people. Now, the Torah portion is split into two main categories. You have the first half, which discusses this story of the spies. And then you have the second half, which discusses various mitzvot, various commandments of God. Things like various sacrifices to be brought, and Shabbat, the Sabbath, and tzitzit, the fringes that Jewish males wear. And this raises the question that the sending of the spies is a story that happened in history, and the mitzvot that are given are eternally relevant, in addition to the fact that they're just two totally separate ideas. So why is the Torah portion named Shalach after the incident of the spies? How does that apply to the rest of the Torah portion? So you could answer simply that, it's the beginning of the Torah portion, and so the name of the parsha is given for the beginning, whatever, the opening sentence of the parsha. And this is actually not entirely true, which I'm not going to get into now. There's examples where we could show that that's not necessarily the case. But also, even if it was true, we don't believe that anything is by chance. Nothing is coincidence. I always say coincidence is just an 11-letter name of God. So how does it apply? How does the name Shalach, to send out, apply to both of these sections of the Torah portion of the actual sending of the spies and the mitzvot that are given at the end? To explain this, we have to understand that the sin of the spies was not what many people think. Most people think the sin of the spies is they went in to scout the land and they came back telling this horrible, terrible report about how it's full of powerful people and the cities are huge and their cities are fortified and it's so hard and difficult. That's actually all true. They went to scout the land, they went to get information, and that's the information. But the problem is the sin that they committed was their conclusion. They went and jumped to the conclusion that therefore we're not able to go up and fight these people. It's just too much. They're stronger than us. It's not going to work. Which is a complete contradiction of God's command. God said, you're going to go conquer this land. I'm giving you the land of Israel as your home. And that's that. And if God promises something, it happens. Otherwise, he loses his God license. So we do have a command not to rely on miracles. There is such a concept. We don't rely on miracles. But what does that mean? That means that we're required to make all of our plans necessary in order to carry something out. Right? So in this case, it's a war, so you have to make tactical plans and so on. That if God wishes to give you the land through natural means, you'll be able to naturally conquer it. And so therefore, you have to send spies and scout out the land and get the information. But their mistake was thinking that command of taking over the land is dependent on finding a natural solution. Sure, we can't rely on miracles, but that just means that we have to put in the effort and find a natural means through which God's going to carry out his command. But if there are no natural means, okay, so then a miracle will happen, because God not fulfilling his promise is not acceptable. So this is actually a fundamental premise on how we should approach observing the commandments. When God commands us to do things, that logically includes the premise that we'll be able to do it. So the whole Torah portion, including those eternal mitzvot that are given, is named Shalach after the incident of the spies, to remind us that God gives us the ability to fulfill all of his commandments. Related to this, there's a saying that God doesn't give us something that we can't handle. So if you're in a situation, whether it's a difficult time fulfilling some of the mitzvot, or in general, just a difficult life situation, you should know that the fact that you're in this position is God telling you, you can do this. You have the strength to get through it. So tap into that strength and connect to God on that level where you can overcome any of the difficulties that you're going through. Shabbat Shalom.